I first started working on this site when Laurie and Heath had done the master plan. And one of the great aims of this campus was for it to be a rural campus that enjoyed native landscapes, the minimisation of exotic trees. And the reason for that was that this all flows down into the creek system and then into the floodplain. And the most important thing about understanding that is not only just the wildlife and the wildlife corridors, but it's also understanding the potential for the plant migration, such as seeds that are actually going to move from any given area upstream back down into the whole system. And of course, if one plants exotic plants, all that one is going to be dealing with is having to weed all the time those plants that are really the exotics and don't belong there. There are also, we recognised when we were doing this, and this I'm going back to the 1960s, when I worked with Murcutt and Woolley. I worked on the Union building, and I was in charge of that under Ken, and then I was placed entirely in charge of the staff house. And Graham Hewitt was my assistant in the staff house. And we were very conscious at the time about the native landscape and also the water patterns and drainage patterns that had to be managed on that site, because we noticed how the rain fell in great patterns and had to be directed and not actually misdirected. Erosion was the major problem in such a thing. And so for me, the Union building was a significant building. The staff house clearly became a significant building, and there are, since I left Callaghan and went into my own practice, there are many other significant buildings, and particularly for me, significant is the staff house, because I was associated with the design of that. I happened to call into the site there some period back now, and I saw all the trees cut down, and I was amazed that they should cut all these trees down. Then I learnt that some group were going to do some work on it. And I thought the least that could be done would be for me to be asked about what should be done. I wasn't looking for a job, just to be consulted. I'd be very happy to have consulted. I've got to say that the result now is a bit like Bunnings on a Saturday morning. It's not a beautiful solution. It's destroyed a building, I believe. And the thing that the council at the university needs to know is that when a building receives a major architectural award, like a Blackett Award or any other national award, such as the Salman Khan, those buildings are listed. And there is a requirement on any owner or subsequent owner to inquire of the architect who was the original author, what should be done or should not be done. And of course the most significant thing is to go back to the architect to see what is reasonable to be done. To not even engage an inquiry or a telephone call is to me absolutely unbelievable. The planting in the landscape of this beautiful campus, as it's maturing with the now Corymbium maculata, once known as Eucalyptus maculata, a predominant tree in this landscape, is a significant landscape. It's a significant site, and it needs to be respected for that significance. There's also Aboriginal heritage that needs to be respected as well. I'm not as fully aware of the Aboriginal heritage, except that I know through buildings that have gone up in the meantime by Richard Laplastre and Peter Stutchbury that there are significant issues related to this whole campus. My view is that the sooner a plan is structured to respect the landscape, to respect the architecture that's there, to respect the land that is there, and the landscape that's been developed over the period, using plants that are absolutely native to this country, is really important. Recognising that any exotic plants take huge amount of water, and we all know that to plant other than native plants is actually totally irresponsible now. I've been using landscape material of native plants only for 20 or 30 years. The idea, and I've seen documents of what's going on there now, the desecration of sculpture. I just cannot believe that a body of intelligent people would allow this sort of thing to happen. It is, to me, an absolute desecration of a most beautiful landscape. It must stop. It must now take a turn into respecting what is there, and I think it would be well worthwhile listing this whole thing in terms of heritage and any other listing. There's already a listing on the architecture of those buildings that won significant awards. I don't know how the Institute of Architects in Newcastle could allow this sort of thing to happen. It ought not to happen. I have nothing further to say. Get on to it.